All right. Hello, everybody. I am going to create this video to sort of give you some help with the last essay. I want you guys to do a really good job. So I'm going to provide you with a sample research paper, and I'm going to go through several steps to sort of help you, right? Hopefully, this visual as well as my directions will give you the added boost you need in order to make sure that you turn in the correct type of paper. Okay. First thing is you are writing over a play. Your play is either going to be Antigone or Medea. The sample essay that you see here is over Hamlet, which is also a play. So hopefully the side by side comparison will do you some good. Right? Now, you're not just writing about the play, you are examining what type of social issues this play also examines. I gave you a list of possible social issues. For this one, this paper is going to talk about Ophelia and gender, right? And how she breaks down the system of male patriarchy. Okay. That is one of the social issues you could have focused on. That is what this sample essay actually does focus on, right? As with all your essays, you know that you are going to have an introduction, as you can see on the screen. When you get ready to introduce the play, make sure that your play is italicized. The only difference between your um, essay and this one is when you get to the title, I do not want the title bolded. This play should be MLA formatted. Some of you are giving me APA formatting. Please don't. Go to OWL Purdue Writing Lab and give me the MLA formatting. Okay. It's very specific. We've been using MLA all semester. You really should not have any questions about MLA formatting at this particular point in the semester. Right. You'll notice on the introduction, the student introduces the text, then it gives a sort of link to patriarchy, hypermasculinity of the medieval court. So it makes a connection between the social issue and the actual text, right? Um, the student then gives sort of a summary of the text, but only a summary as it pertains to the social issue. They don't just go and tell you everything that happens in the story because we don't need that. You need a summary that focuses on what part of the story focuses on the social issue that you're going to um, explore. Use this sample essay as a guide, right? If they only talk about part of their story in the intro, then you should do the same thing for your play as well, right? Once the play or the essay gets going, you'll see that here the student is making their thesis in several different places, right? She sort of starts off with her thesis. It's like multi-pronged, this thesis is. Right? She makes the statement that it seems paradoxical then that Ophelia is the only character in the play able to transcend and disempower the patriarchy, but through her madness and suicide, she does just that. Right? So basically, the student is making the argument that based off of her madness and her own suicide, her actions in the play, Ophelia's character actually is able to break down the systems of patriarchy in the play. So, this is the students' social commentary. They believe that when Shakespeare writes this play, he structures Ophelia in a way that she is the character who he fashions to go up against patriarchal norms that exist in society. And that's essentially what this essay is stating. She goes on and says there are no real winners in Hamlet, but everyone dies. But Ophelia is certainly less of a failure than Hamlet himself. She keeps going on. Ophelia succeeds because at her death, she has full control of herself and her soul, something that Hamlet could never have said to have achieved. Again, she's breaking down the patriarchal structures. She becomes the hero and not Hamlet. Okay? So the intro to this essay actually sets up the argument that the student is making. When I see or when I read this essay, I'm expecting this student to explore, not to summarize what happens in the play, because I don't need a summary of the play. What I need this student to do is explain to me how Ophelia's suicide um, and her madness break down patriarchal norms that exist. Okay, that's all this essay should entail. It should not be a summary of what happens throughout the play. All right, now you are going to summarize parts of the play, but only those parts that you need in order to back up your opinions about how the play pertains to your social issue. Okay, so if we look at the first paragraph that this student has, the play establishes itself as an anti feminine very early on. All right. So, right here in this topic sentence, this student is basically creating a topic sentence that is going to support her ideas about how the play breaks down patriarchy, right? So the topic sentence is not going to be when the play first starts off, right? You're not going to tell me the summary of the play. You're going to make a statement that supports your thesis. How does this play or this character transcend patriarchy, right? What does patriarchy or whatever social issue you're deciding on, how does this play or whatever happens with this character focus on that particular issue? Okay. Now, that is what your topic sentences should look like, right? Your topic sentences for all of your paragraphs should make a claim that supports your thesis. That topic sentence should be about the social issue as well as how the play deals with that social issue, some aspect of that social issue. Right? The next thing that you're going to do, and that some of you are having problems with, is understanding what your sources are for, right? So you did have to do a research in the library to look at the actual sources. What you want to do then is you want to use your primary text, which is your play, and you want to make points about how the primary text does whatever you're saying it does in the thesis. And then you want to support your primary text with secondary text. Okay? Um, Secondary sources. So here, this student makes the observation that the play establishes itself as anti feminine very early on. Right? Says in the first court scene when Claudius warns himself against Hamlet. So he's given evidence from the primary text first, okay, which he does, and you'll see how he cites that information. And then the second part, and then this is, of course, going to be upside down, and I'm going to try to rotate it. All right, there we go. Right? And so the secondary source here then says, um, he makes a statement about the primary text and talks about how there's no room for feminine displays of emotion, and he equates that argument with his primary text. But then when he gets to his secondary text, he's going to use the secondary text as further evidence to support his ideas that he made about the primary text, right? So this one says the language of mad women in Shakespeare and his fellow dramatists, any strong emotional expression is generally thought to be womanish, right? You see how this particular information from the secondary text supports this idea that he just made here about the primary text. Okay. That is the use of your secondary sources. You are to find articles that support the ideas that you're going to make about the first text. Okay. And so the structure of your body paragraph should be like that. You should have a topic sentence, you should have evidence and an explanation from your primary text, and then you should have a secondary text that supports the analysis that you made about your primary text. Okay? Once he does that, he says both quotations have contrast that emotion with strongly masculine concept of filial loyalty and duty, right? So then, once he introduces the example from both the primary text and the secondary text, now he's going to analyze how both of those things add to his argument that he's making, right? He says they contrast the emotions with strong masculine concepts. Remember, he's talking about gender and patriarchy. Okay? He then goes and explains Claudius considers filial obligation natural and honorable as long as it's conducted without excess of emotion. Hamlet, on the other hand, is clearly and understandably confused by the concept, for he has two fathers, and to be loyal to both is to be contradictory. Right? The crux of this dilemma is expressed by his mother when she says he gives further evidence from the primary text. Okay? Then he's going to back up all of this and make a final point about the text. Right? Hamlet naturally want to thought and emotion is expected to say firm, solemn, and silent. Right? Again, he's talking about emotions. Feminine displays of emotions are not embraced. Right? He's supposed to stay firm and solid, solemn and silent. Right? So that is basically the breakdown of a body paragraph for your research and what it looks like, how you use your primary text, and then how you use your secondary text, and how your essay is not an examination of the entire play. Your essay is an examination of the social issue that you have picked out and what that social issue has to do with your um, primary text, and then show how the secondary sources support the ideas that you've made about the primary text. Okay? The last thing I want you to take a look at is your works cited page. Your works cited page should have all of your citations listed here. It should be centered. This one is incorrect. It should be centered here, but it should also be on its own separate page, and all of your citations should be in alphabetical order. So again, you're going to make sure that your paper is MLA formatted. If you don't know how to do that, go to the Rice Purdue Writing Lab and look up MLA formation, and they will have a short video that shows you how to do that. Okay. I hope that this has been helpful to you. And if you have any questions, email me.